What's up, guys? Mitch from RespectMyRegion.com back with another episode of the Respect My Region Plus podcast. Joined today by two special guests, Tylee and Seth of All Star Opera. How are you guys doing today?
What's up, Mitch? How you?
I'm doing good. Seth's still over there, stuck in the metaverse.
Stuck in the metaverse. I'm doing good. Thanks for having us, Mitch.
Likewise.
Thank you, Mitch.
I was doing some really cool hand gestures when I was introducing you guys, but I realized they were off camera, which is probably to the betterment of my sex appeal out there on the internet. But I thought it was pretty sweet. I was doing some dicing.
I like
Man,
the vertical angle is good because I don't really know what to do with my hands, and my hands are actually like all the way up. You just can't see them on the wings.
Widescreen's a little revealing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little too revealing.
A little too much. All right, man. So All Star Opera, you guys are a band that have been popping around the Seattle scene doing a lot of things. And I know you guys are also individuals outside of that. But for the sake of today, forget who you guys personally are. You're just strictly members of the band All Star Opera. When did you guys first get together? What was the official origin year for ASO?
Origin year is probably, like 5 years ago, right, Seth?
Yeah, like 2016.
6 years?
2016. Yeah, I mean, Tylee had been in the fold for a minute. I had been rocking with Oz and Flo Carter, the two MCs of the group, since like early 2014. And then we brought Tylee in, and Tylee was just playing over beats for a while. And then by 2016, we kind of did away with the backing tracks and said, let's be a full band, and really established what we have become to be known as, in 2016.
And you guys are like that hybrid genre of like hip hop, some jazz, maybe a couple other, drawing some other elements for some other genres. I mean, it's just like live hip hop music with a full band backed. I mean, you guys are a group. How many was there? 6 people in the group? 7?
There's 7 now.
7.
There's 7. We just added Bailey Noble on aux percussion, and the group is strong.
Right, man. What hip hop band you know out here showing up with a 7-piece, man? And one of the rappers playing the horns too. Super unique. I know you guys keep it super live. So it started, ASO's origin started as more of just like a traditional hip hop group and kind of elevated adding these different pieces. What was beyond just adding people, to help with the live shows and that kind of taking over, what was the inspiration of like turning it from just like a hip hop group to kind of the band? What was the idea behind that?
Well, off top, Oz and Flo Carter just kept saying they had this homie Tylee who played drums. Come to find out, like, he was dead serious about playing drums. And then also, I have been rocking with Flo Carter for a minute. I feel like at least for like a year and a half. He's one of the MCs in the group. And it was only once like Tylee started coming into the fold where he even mentions to us that he can play trumpet, and he did jazz band in high school playing trumpet. And I'm kind of looking at him sideways like, okay, well, now we really got something here. And it kind of fell into place, like one piece after another. But it definitely, Tylee was like the integral piece to like give us the confidence to push in that direction, having that backbone on the drum kit.
So the homie Tylee sitting in the middle of the screen right now. Tylee, what was it like? What was it like coming into the group, man? What was kind of your inspiration for playing music before you joined the group? What genres did you kind of A, listen to, but B, also play?
Well, first of all, like, they were the homies, like I knew them all through high school and everything. Sam and Jossie, that is, Oz and Flo. And so we had a good relationship prior to that, years before even like talking about music and anything like that. So, just the homies, and like, oh, we found out, yeah, we both like, the same kind of music. So we rolled with that. And coming from my musical background, I don't know, I really just went with everything. I grew up on, there was the rock music growing up, there was the jazz. I really only got into hip hop maybe when I was like 13, 14. I think I did like, what is it? It was like a middle school senior project. on hip hop. That was my first like introduction into hip hop, where I like actually like dove in head first and like learned all the like the culture and the music and all that. So that was really my introduction into what grew from the homies and everybody into, you know, the band now. And so little backstory.
What time did you start playing drums? What age?
What age?
Mm-hmm.
What was it, like probably like 13, 14, you know? My dad got a kit because he wanted to play, but he never played. So I was just down there banging on it, trying to
So
see
this
what I
day,
could do.
he never picked it up.
He never picked it up. He just bought it and he was like, "I'm gonna learn these drums." And then I was like, "Okay, yeah, sure, you're gonna do that."
But
Yeah,
he put you on. Hey, there's something
yeah,
positive. There's
exactly.
some positive came out. I definitely picked up a lot of things in my life that I picked up, brought in my house, and then proceeded to not pick up again.
But who knows? Maybe your kid, he'll pick
Yeah,
that up and he'll take it to the next level.
that's fire.
Yeah.
Did you just start playing and playing by ear, or did you take lessons, or what was kind of your route?
Yeah, just playing by ear. I eventually started taking lessons, maybe 15, 16. But just, you know, started off, you know, just experimenting, like seeing what sounds you can make, you know, out of the drums. Obviously, you know, playing the records,
Hmm.
playing with homies, you know, just playing as much as I could.
Well, that's what, especially when you freestyle over the live music or anything around hip hop, the drum beat. That's the backbone, the integral part. Seth, I know you wear a couple different hats in the group, from playing to songwriting, and then I know you have an engineer background. I know you're not too involved with that when it comes to the band. A lot of times, probably sometimes, but kind of what's your introduction to music?
My introduction to music, my stepdad. I grew up around band practice like 3 to 4 nights a week. My stepdad came into my life around like 4 or 5, and just elementary, middle school, high school, there was always band practice going on. I played trumpet in 5th and 6th grade. Um, I actually like really dove into hip hop at like 10 or 11 years old. Like I was going to Blockbuster Video and like buying the Source magazine, Vibe magazine, XXL.
Yeah.
I feel like I knew more about hip hop and like what was like current and fresh. Like I just knew it all. Like every single thing that was coming out, I knew it. Like 2001, 2002, 2003. Like I was just up on it all. I would be burning CDs every single week, like just to have the latest and greatest. And from there, I didn't actually start taking music seriously or like start playing the keys until like 18 or 19. For a while, it was just high school life, playing basketball. Um, I almost feel like because like my family didn't push me towards music, even though I was a wretch, I just naturally gravitated towards it at a later point, and came to it on my own. But yeah, around 18 or 19 is when I started jamming.
That's dope, because a lot of people that play instruments, which is, something that traditionally a lot of people play like growing up in their youth or take lessons as a kid, and it's something they stick with them. And I know you do a lot. And so to take on something, playing an instrument a little bit later, even 18 and 19 is young, but that's later in life compared to a lot of people that traditionally grow up playing, and you've been
Yeah.
able to take it pretty far. I think that's a good motivation for other people out there. What do you think is like kind of instrumental in learning some of those skills of playing? Like, do you need lessons? Can you just pick it up and do it yourself? What are some of those elements that you would impart on other people?
Honestly, like what I did for the first 3 to 6 months, and this is probably not the advised route. I literally just learned all the skills, or sorry, scales. I learned all the skills. I wish I could say I learned all the skills in the first 3 to 6 months. I learned all the scales, all the major and minor scales, and there's like um, a finger technique to it, like boom, dun, 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 and like how you move your fingers is so crucial to being able to move around on the keyboard. And so for like the first 3 to 6 months, I literally just played scales. And I think my roommate at the time didn't really enjoy that after a while, and was probably wondering when I was ever going to play a song. But I don't know, somewhere in my heart, I think I had the long term vision of like
Mm.
I'm not just doing this to dabble around. Like I want to like really know how to do this. I would say the part that like really helps me grow though, two things. One, I was going to school for audio production, like audio engineering, audio production, and I took a couple music theory classes. And so I think getting that foundation of music theory was huge. And then at a certain point, like you can study all you want, but at a certain point you just gotta let yourself loose and go
Hmm.
play. And so even like when I first started, I was already making a few beats here and there, more so just like playing the keys on beats with other people who were doing like the drums. Um, when All Star Opera started jamming and we started practicing and whatnot, that was really like my first time in a band. And I feel like, I mean, the first couple of years, like there was some growth, but even in like the last two, more like 3 years, like 2019, just trying to play with as many people as possible. Like, I was practicing like 1, 2 nights a week, sometimes three, like historically. How can I get to more jams, whether it's with someone else or whatever it may be? I guess, long story short, just trying to put myself in a position to jam with other people because I feel like whenever you jam with other people, you pick up on something, even if it's just something small that you can take to some other space, whether it's all star opera space or making a beat, just always learning new things.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's getting those shots up, but I think that's also like a big part of music, right? Is like there's a skill thing, there's an ear thing, and there's also like the inspiration aspect, right? Of like what
Yeah,
inspires you to create or the hunger to learn because there's infinite, there's infinite skills like in genres, right? There's so much shit to master. Very few people can master many, let alone, everything. And so being around those different people definitely helps just crack the code on shit that ends up being like, oh damn, that's hella simple. I just never thought of it like that.
yeah,
Right.
it happens all the time. Even like Tylee, I mean, Tylee's being humble. Like he can play guitar, he can play keys. Tylee will do something. He teaches me something all the time, just like through how he voices stuff on keys too.
Hmm.
Also, even like playing with Tylee too. He's such a like in the pocket drummer that like just not even from like a chord voicing standpoint, but just like from a rhythmic thing and like how you play things. Like you can almost like approach the keyboard as like a percussive instrument sometimes, and like you know, I can jack Tylee's rhythms on the keyboard and like get some syncopation going sometimes, which is
Yeah,
cool.
you should. Appreciate that, man. And piano is a percussive instrument. Back there behind the wall, it's the hammers hitting
Yep.
those strings.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and for you guys, coming up, like being, Seattle locals, right, and or for the most part, like coming up in this scene and being fans of the music, and now at this point, you guys have played at pretty much every venue in town or festival. What are some of the venues you haven't reached yet that you want to reach, or have you eclipsed them all?
Tylee, you say one and I'll say one.
What haven't we played? Showbox Market.
Yup. Paramount Theater.
There we go.
Okay,
Yup. Oh, in the Gorge. Come on now.
that's fair.
Yeah.
You know, it's not necessarily Seattle, but
It's not Seattle,
Northwest
but it's
boys.
it's 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 adjacent. If you're looking at amphitheaters that you would play in the
Yeah,
Seattle market, right? That's
yeah.
White River and out there, and that one is pretty
Hey,
spectacular. What?
hey, I'll take White River. Give us a call, White River.
Oh, that's funny. What have been some of your guys' favorite stages to play?
Man, just being on tour, you get to see so much. And I can't really pick a stage, honestly. Just like, bounce around from one to the other. You get to see so much. I love to travel. So just really just like being on the road and seeing different stages and like going city to city, that's like where my heart's at. And just like that's where I get the most enjoyment out of the music and the travel and seeing new people, meeting new people.
Yeah, I definitely resonate with what Tylee said there. As far as like even just in the Northwest, in Seattle. I feel like it's not the obvious one, but we had some really cool shows at Sunset Tavern early on,
Mm.
like 2016, 2017, and like we just played Numos, which is like a bigger spot. But something about the Sunset Tavern in Ballard is really cool. And then even just in the Northwest, got to give a shout out to Spokane. Rest in peace to the Bartlett. But then the owners, Caleb and Carly, started Lucky You Lounge. We had the chance to play Lucky You Lounge just before COVID. That's a really special spot as well. Hope to get back out there this year.
It's a vibey spot.
I
Yeah.
haven't seen that one. I was always a big fan of the Bartlett because there's very few rooms that are like really attractive looking, intimate, all
Yeah.
ages, and you can drink inside in the area while having 18 up.
That all ages that all ages factor is so crucial. I think that's what made a lot of those Bartlett shows so special.
Yeah, I mean, I think you plug in. There's a couple. I mean, there's obviously some big high schools and some big colleges there, and so I think when you get that established crowd of like people that are out for a good time, and then the young people that are just like thirsty for something dope and to eat something up and find something that they can, whether it's grab some inspiration or just grab something they like that's brewed in their backyard. I think that adds like a really good dynamic to the audience.
For the kids, that's crucial.
Yeah.
It's crucial for those kids. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, fuck. I remember the first rap show I feel like I ever went to was like at Central. It was just some show put on by students. There's probably like 20 people there, but I was like 13. Like, oh my god, this is like the coolest. Like, people are actually rapping like live right now. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah, man, live music, like being away from live music for so long, man. I remember like my first show after like a couple years, like just like attending a show
Mm-hmm.
after like a couple of years of this like COVID quarantine or whatever, and it was crazy. Like I couldn't even believe like what I was missing out on. Like I forgot how amazing it is to just see live music.
Yeah, anything live. And then, speaking of that, I know we've worked on it together, but I'm not going to speak about me tonight. We're speaking about you guys, but there was a couple ways that you guys were creative. I know we were involved a little bit, but being creative throughout COVID, I don't want to talk too much about COVID itself, but more so just kind of the creative things that have been out. Because I mean, it's been around 2 years. We've been beating how has COVID affected everyone. We've talked about that quite a bit at this point. But what were some of the ways that you guys felt to not just stay creative in terms of getting your music out there, but just creative and staying like active with one another and like keeping a band together? A band is difficult. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities, and when you have that much downtime and that much time away from like, I think the thing that most people enjoy, which is just playing live. Like how did you guys keep kind of the creative spark, whether it was releasing things or just kind of staying together as a group?
I think one aspect that has just been a full evolution in our process is, Tylee's a very proficient audio engineer. I'm a proficient audio engineer. The rest of the band, for the most part, knows how to navigate a DAW. We became a lot more sustainable remotely, even when we couldn't meet up. So it's, like, okay, what's the tempo of this? Okay, you add your part here, you add your part here. And even to this day, like, like we're all like around 30 now. So, we have a couple of us have wives, we can't be going to practice 4 or 5 nights a week. We're still using some of the tools that were like absolutely necessary when we were quarantining. Like just a couple weeks ago, I was working on this beat with Tylee and Bailey, and I sent them a Zoom link. It's like, okay, you can see the video screen, and then I sent them this audio. There's this audio streaming plugin called Audio Movers. Shout out to Sendai Mike, a dope engineer here in Seattle. He put me and really his whole following onto Audio Movers. I sent them the Audio Movers plugin, and we're literally like making adjustments to this beat like in real time. They're seeing the screen and all the moves I'm doing. They're hearing it in their headphones, and that was just like a month ago. So it's definitely like allowed us to move a lot quicker when we can't can't be there all at once.
Yeah, and like a huge blessing is just that we've been able to get in the studio so much, and like being able to work remotely like that on, our own times, so that it doesn't really we can always just be chipping away at it. And yeah, as Seth said, it's like the whole. I mean, me and him, and he's forgetting Kirk as well, is pretty proficient at what he
Yeah,
does,
yeah, super.
producing and such.
Yeah, OG Kirk Hoffman, a bass player in our band, who's also just like one of the dopest producers. He has a kid. He's the only one in the band with a kid, so he can really be such a huge impact to what we're doing, just even by like taking the latest stems from something we're working on, and like flipping it on its head, or just adding this or that. Like, yeah, there's a lot of heads in the band that can hold their own as far as engineering and producing.
And there's been, I've personally seen, at least in my various hustles, there's been a lot of, there's a lot of blessings and curses, right? They came with COVID, a lot of shifts, but it's funny that something so big like that would put, what historically you guys would think of, oh, we got to meet up together to make music. Like, why would we send stuff? We live in the same city, to now starting to use those tools and breaking up out of that, where it is super convenient. Cause just traveling around the city, right? When, especially you guys got so, 7 members, like, spaced out all around the city, it's tough to get everyone together depending on where they're at and traffic. And an hour and a half band practice is a 3.5 hour commitment when you add in travel and loading in and loading out, plus. And so being able to work from home kind of on demand just definitely ups the frequency. I can totally see that, as long as you guys everybody's able to keep contributing and moving.
Yeah
Man, it's a good way. It's a good thing that's come from it, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Go for it.
Oh, no. I was just gonna say, it makes me realize that not just in this scenario, but so many different things, like whether like even just like with work Zoom meetings and stuff, we were so dependent on meeting up in person pre-COVID, and it makes you wonder, like, why didn't we think to be this efficient prior to COVID? But I don't like the silver lining of COVID, because the saying silver lining, because there's been so much just devastation, but it's definitely an evolution that's come from the past couple of years.
We gotta adapt. I know, like, I sent you something in the mail the other day, Seth, and we live in the same area, so
I just got it today. Thank you.
Like, I'm not driving downtown, you're not driving to Everett, man, so it's all
Yeah, I did it once, and your wife was like, "Why didn't you just overnight it?" And I was like, "I'll be the overnight delivery person tonight." But then after I did that, I was like, "Oh, never again."
Always, my wife will always be like, "Why didn't you just do it the easy way?" And you're like, "Man, forget you. I'm still trying to meet up like COVID never happened, bro. Get the band together in person. We're not sending no files."
Yeah.
What are you guys getting out on the road? You guys got some shows lined up now that the world's starting to open back up?
Starting to book a little bit, but nothing huge.
Yeah, we're doing Capitol Hill Block Party this summer. That'll be cool. Playing the Numo stage. We're doing this like solstice parade in June at Nectar Lounge. That'll be cool. And then we were just this week starting to look at Lucky You Lounge, actually, in Spokane this summer. And other than that, we're just heavy album mode, trying to get our second album done. And so I think 2023 realistically will be a much heavier touring year for us, for sure.
I understand that. Is this your guys' second time playing Black Party?
It'll be the second one, yeah.
And
yeah.
What's your guys' thoughts on that? Block Party's always been a unique thing to me, because it's such a big deal for Seattle. It has a good it's done a decent job. It seems even more so this year, of like including kind of the local community. But it's such a wide variety of genres, and the artists aren't like, there's a lot of indie artists, right? You don't see a lot of festivals with that kind of magnitude that cover that many genres, and then artists who aren't, you can see some superstars here and there, but it's a lot of like mid-level and indie people that have cult followings. What's What's your guys' temperature on just like being a part of that and kind of seeing the different taste of musicians and the audience there?
Oh, well, it's always an honor, man. To be a part of that community and everything. Like you said, bunch of locals and everything. So that's always keeps us close to the heart. So and yeah, and we see the national acts there popping up as well. So it's like it's probably one of our biggest stages we've ever played at or will ever play at. To this point. So it's a great opportunity for us.
I think
Yeah.
also it can be super beneficial for local artists if they really own it. Like the first time we played, we did 2017, just before we put out our first album. That was like going to be 5 years ago now. And, we're not one to keep secrets. Like something we did here, we were playing the Barboza stage, like the smallest stage that year. And I remember Oz, myself, maybe all of us, I can't remember, but I remember Oz was like kind of like the culprit leader of this. We printed out flyers about our set, and so all weekend, there's like 10,000 people that attend Capitol Hill Block Party throughout the weekend, and on any given day, there's like 3,000-4,000 people roaming like a 3-block corridor.
Mm.
So I remember we were handing out flyers like come see our set because it's like everyone's there to see Diplo or whoever it is run the Jewels,
Usually Diplo.
Usually I feel like Diplo's always on it when we play.
I swear.
No, but I Run the Jewels was playing that year too. But we're like in 2017, we're at the very bottom of the flyer, and so we're not expecting too many people to be there to see us that year. And so we handed out flyers, and we played a packed out. Like I'm not just speaking in a hyperbole. Like packed to the gills, Barboza, and hella heads told us there was literally a line out the door up the stairs to get
Wow.
into Barboza for like half of our set. And so if you get that opportunity, and even if it's not Capitol Hill Block Party, but it's in like a festival setting, but you're kind of like the local act amongst like some bigger names, like don't be afraid to stick your neck out there and let people know what's going on. I feel like those flyers played such a crucial part into people actually showing up for us.
I forgot we did that flyer thing. Completely forgot.
It paid off because I saw some other local acts here at Barboza where like people were at different stages to see whoever, and it wasn't packed to the gills. And such a good idea by Oz to even have like the foresight to do that. And so glad we did.
Yeah. And that's it
just goes.
Cute things like that are reasons why you guys are so dear to my heart. Putting in the hustle.
Hey, but you love that. You love that on the ground marketing. I know you like that DIY hustle.
DIY hustle.
Absolutely. I don't do the music thing now, but obviously I used to be more involved from a creative standpoint where I was creatively involved with projects, and I just never got why people wouldn't do that. You get an opportunity and people sit back on social media and brag about it and then go there and it doesn't turn out as good as they hoped, and they either are insecure about it or get upset about it or whatever. And there's just this cycle of things, but people don't just like grab their own fucking destiny, right? Or do whatever they can. You got to squeeze whatever ounce out of every opportunity you get within the means of your capacity and budget, obviously. But so often musicians don't. There's so much things are for the vanity, or the moment you start getting booked on stages, I'm on stage, I got to uphold this fucking imaginary status symbol that nobody but myself fucking holds me to. When it's like, bro, you just got to acquire fans. You got to shake fucking hands.
That's really what it is. I think the best thing you can do is like not make inflations or like self-proclamations, and more so just like do the work. And not even just self-proclamations or like inflation, but like really go into it with with like very little expectations, be trying your best and like really putting like your best art out there, and letting that represent itself. I think that's so crucial. But time out though. I know you say you're not involved with the music that much anymore. You do have a production credit on one of our top 5 most streamed songs to this day, "The Musical
That's
Tones" with
that's what I
DFF.
do though. When I put these pants on and get production credits, man, they do number.
Oh, yeah.
Magic touch.
No, yeah, we got we gotta get another one in there at some point, man. But definitely, I think
Yes, sir.
that's something. Obviously, like I know you guys on a personal level, but beyond that, I've always been a fan, and that's evidently and why we've worked together in so many capacities is that ability to hustle, and it's not about. And I'm not discrediting you guys because you guys have had a lot of cool creative things, but going and hand out flyers is like not this like thing, but the fact that you went and did it and you guys had a group behind it that went and did it, that's what the benefits from, right? Like having great ideas is one thing, but everybody's got ideas. Being able to take action on ideas, and sometimes the most simplest and actions, ideas that have intention behind them can yield fruitful results. But I've been a fan of your guys's. You guys have done some creative marketing. You guys have done some creative merch. One of the things I wanted to talk about was what your approach is to merch and some of those tangible goods. I still think it's funny to this day. It sucks Jossie's not in here. I just saw him on the comments, but the fucking NBA card of our boy.
Oh, yeah.
I know
Oh, yeah.
I know he peaked in the '90s when he was on the Sonics. Looking at his stats on there. But what was the thought process in that? I know even in the product description, it's kind of like in a world of NFTs, we're approaching something. I can't remember exactly what the post was, but you went for a tangible good
Yeah.
over a digital.
A real life NFT. Well, we put out this song called Goldmine, and we put it out as like COVID was still doing its thing, and we created this fictional basketball character, and Flo Carter, also known as Jossie, was kind enough to be that basketball character, because the song is just like very brash, like in your face, and so we wanted some sort of like we wanted to like market it as like whatever was representing the marketing for it, just to be like very in your face,
Mm-hmm.
brash, and over time, like instead of like doing a Kickstarter or something, we're like, why don't we create something that we can give back to folks who like contribute, and that card came to be, and every time I see that card, I'm just like, it's definitely one of those things where you're just like, gosh, I love this so much. And I think just with all our merch, it always comes down to like, would we rock that? Like, even if I didn't know who that band was, would I rock that? Like, I think that's, you were heavy in the merch game when I first met you 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen a lot of clothing and apparel in your day, and you can usually tell whether you know the brand or not, whether you'd rock something or not.
Yeah.
And so luckily there's enough of us to kind of like balance that out, checks and balances. We're definitely like a democracy in the sense of like majority vote wins, and the majority vote always keeps us honest, whether like, because I could be super stoked about something, but everyone else could be you're not seeing this, or vice versa, like it can go any given way on any given day. But yeah, the checks and balances are crucial to maintaining merch we're all excited about.
Sometimes it's a battle. Sometimes you go down, 5, 6 votes, and then it's like, oh, we got to revote.
Yeah.
So I was like, I know you shot this down last week, but I'm putting it on the agenda again. All right, man.
Yeah.
I went from teal to magenta. What do you think now? And it's like, well, no, it was actually, there was fundamental flaws with it to begin with.
So much.
But yeah, no, but shout out to Flo Carter for being a willing participant of that basketball card. It's a holographic card.
Yeah,
It's special.
I don't think any of you other guys could have pulled it off, the same way. Definitely, you went with the right choice there. No disrespect to
Yeah.
y'all, but y'all just don't.
Yeah.
Y'all don't got basketball game qualities, man, or basketball card qualities, man. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
When it comes to your
That
guys'
is right.
music videos, that's another thing that I feel like you guys have always done creative. Obviously, you have the group to where you're able to have a lot of people. And, in a music video, right, you can only show the band so much, right? It's not the 90s where it's just everyone, sitting in a fucking room with like fog machines and the band just like jamming out, right?
You don't even need the band.
Yeah.
And so it's like you guys find creative ways to involve everyone. What are some of the inspirations behind those? And then too, like, who is that still a group thing that kind of comes up with the ideas, or what's that process look like? You guys lean on directors, or?
Well, when's the last time we made a video? It's been a minute for sure.
Well, our last music video we made was literally like we got done filming the day before COVID shut down everything, like March 2020. But like big shout out to Oz. He has been instrumental in like the production of music videos. Like we often like have worked with a video director, but he's kind of like in a way like co-directing a lot of these music videos, but at the very least like video producer. The last one we definitely self-shot. We got the homie Porky Scoop, Bamboo Baconi, he's going by now. He helped with some filming on that. We self-shot the last one. Yeah, I don't know. Like, what do you think, Tylee's like? Where do our music videos come from?
Where do they come from? I don't know. It's like the same with the merch. Everybody starts voting on like where should we take it, and so it's like we never really know. It's getting pulled like 6 different ways, 7 different ways now, like constantly. So it's like you kind of just like throw it out there, you don't know where it's gonna go, and eventually we come to terms. Like Democrat is the democratic thing, and then eventually ends up somewhere cool, hopefully.
So you guys are following the democratic process to produce these videos.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, the democratic process though has like proved so fruitful for us because, like we all rock with each other because we all know like at the end of the day, everyone has dope taste, dope ideas. We can't always agree on everything when there's 7 of us, but at the end of the day, like the group consensus, like just even majority vote is going to yield something dope. And as we've been like working on this album, even like just even using that process, like with the music we're creating, like something dope's going to happen. Like it's bound to happen when there's that many people like down for the same cause and understand the larger mission at hand.
Yeah, I think aside from the votes, just having so many people, so many ideas, and so it's great. Everybody can throw an idea pot, and then you kind of evaluate from there. That's I think the best thing about it.
I like that. And then, also from being a part of many teams and groups, whether inside of music or not, I think it also, that style of approach helps lift a lot of the ego, right? If an idea potentially goes down in flames, it's like the majority backed it. You can't just point at like, oh, you fucking made us all do this and it sucked. You're such a moron. It's kind of like, hey, we shot and we missed collectively.
Yeah. It's a team.
You win and lose together. Yeah.
Trust. I got some L's on my record. Some people still will hold over my head that I bogarted through the pipeline, and it didn't turn out so well.
Yeah, we avoid that. We got ourselves in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a wise way. I was interviewing this guy who owns a cannabis brand, and he said he has, I can't remember, it's 3 people or 5 people, and he said the only time he'll ever put out a new product is if they all have to give it 2 thumbs up or something. Like, he has some weird process that allows him to only put out so many new things a year, because he's like, bro, these is motherfucker, not everybody agrees. Like, it's tough to get all of them. But I was like, that's kind of a unique process. It wouldn't necessarily work for music, because you guys would probably only release something like every 3 fucking years if it took a universal consensus buy-in. But
3-song album,
I think majority vote is a healthy place for us to be.
Yeah, it's when you get to art, it's so subjective, and I think also, and I know both you guys have done stuff independently too. It's like when you put stuff out there, whether it's independent or as a group, like when you put art out there to be judged, you can always have your best intention before you put it out. But I always describe this to people, whether you're putting a piece of marketing or advertising out or you're putting a piece of art out, it's like sometimes you're like, yeah, that's the one, and it's the one. But there's so many times where you're like, this is the one, and you're like, damn, that was not the one. Or the one that, you happen to be like, bro, that shit's trash. This is so whack. A couple other people hype it up, it gets put out, and then that ends up being your best thing that you ever did. And you're like, oh, I just didn't, you know what I mean? Like, even if you created it, you might be like, I just didn't see it, until the market responded to it. There's a unique component there.
Yeah, that's the weirdest one for me. It happens every once in a while, but yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, this is trash, and then 6 weeks later, it's like everybody's talking about it. You're like, what? What do you?
Dang, I can't hear anyone.
Oh, so
you might have to drop out and come. Well, he can't hear, so it doesn't matter. Let me text. Let me text young Seth or 10.
Yeah, we'll be okay.
Tylee, you can speak for Seth too, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know most of what's going on there. He's got a lot of things going on, in his head constantly, but
oh, I think my phone is about to die.
oh,
I'm on my computer here, so this doesn't matter. But
oh yeah, it's all good. Yeah, I can speak on
I can't
on
hear
things
y'all.
if necessary.
Can y'all hear me?
I can hear
Even
you.
rejoin. All right.
I can hear you.
I'm not gonna let him back in. He
You shouldn't. You should. Yeah, exactly. He fucked up. He was on his phone too. It was like he told us, or he told me and Jossie, like, you got to be on the computer, for this.
He didn't even follow. Hey, I gave him the advice, man. Sometimes we're on the phone and you switch out of the app and back. That happens. So
yeah, no, it's no worries.
Can you hear? Are you back?
I am back.
Yes.
You just missed some
like,
prolific stuff.
Yeah.
I was like, Tylee got this. Tylee's the beat to All-Star Opera. He can keep this thing flowing.
He aired out your dirty laundry, but it's all good, man.
It's all good.
It's all good. We're going viral on Twitter right now.
Nice
so you
try.
guys are in...
Nice try.
Before I get on
a fresh load.
Before I get on the new music, I wanted to revisit another topic. Again, it's something I'm involved with, so I don't want to talk about it from my perspective. But the Seattle World Tour is obviously something you guys are super, super active in and took a part of spearheading and creating. What has that been like, building something outside of the band, that although the band's attached to it, but it's like built this own entity that's kind of taken its own route? How has that kind of worked in terms of like focusing on building that and building the band, and what's the inspiration to keep seeing that platform continue to grow?
Well, it started as kind of like, we have the band and we want to do as much as with the band as possible, so you kind of have to build the infrastructure around the band if you don't have that infrastructure already. So the Seattle World Tour, maybe in its first iteration, started as kind of trying to grow the community, the infrastructure for ourselves, as well as other artists and communities in the city, and from that, it just kind of took off as, this thing, nonprofit. And I'm, Seth probably has some stuff to say too. I'll let him harp on it because I know he's got something in mind.
Yeah, I think, Tylee, you gave me a good launch pad. I definitely agree that early on it was definitely just to build infrastructure for the different worlds we were experiencing. We would play like a jazz show at Numos with like some of the dopest jazz players around, and then we had 2 weeks later we're opening up for Devin the Dude and Jarv D. So we were like just like we're navigating all these different worlds, and it originally like started as this thing to like bring different communities together. But even since the pandemic started, it's really snowballed into something so much more beautiful than I think we could have ever even imagined. Like just this past week to launch that musician relief fund where we're able to give out $500 grants, 20 right now, and that number will grow by the time
Mm,
applications close on May 15th. And this is a permanent relief fund to even like be in a position to provide that kind of aid to like the music community that like we love and know and have grown in, um, and we can like help like other people's growth as well. I don't think we ever even saw that as something that was like a reality when we started doing the concert series. And like we're going to get back to the concert series and do the third annual Seattle World Tour probably like in the next year,
mhm,
as things like really open back up. But gosh, that music, like it really hit me in the past week. Like that musician relief fund is like, that's like squad goals right there that I don't even
mhm,
think we realize were squad goals. Like, like let's lift each other up. And to be able to, like the Seattle World Tour Foundation's mission, as you know, Mitch, like is to help those experiencing crisis while promoting local music. And over the past 2 years, like artists have really been experiencing crisis as well.
mhm.
And so,
Absolutely.
like artist relief right now is like one of the focuses. And, like prior to that, it was definitely more so like those experiencing homelessness. But, you know, if we could in like, we did the first concert series in January 2018. Here we are 4 years later, like
Mhm,
really excited to see where it can go in the next couple of years. And it took businesses like the Reef Cannabis on Capitol Hill, like recognizing the work that we were all doing, yourself included, Mitch, like to even like put us in a position to have this musician relief fund, through like the Rain City Relief campaign this past year. And so, even if it like the musician relief fund and the concert series is all we do moving forward, that is so cool.
mhm,
And I think what I could only hope from it is that more and more people create community oriented, community centered initiatives, and whether they're inspired by us or even like just took one little element that they
mhm,
like from like what we were doing, like that, just paying it forward. Like I don't know, like I'm rambling a little bit, but it's I really have been thinking about it in the past week,
mhm,
like like because I was looking at it earlier today, like we have 45 responses already in like a week and a half to this musician relief fund, and the applications are open until May 15th. And
yeah,
it's like, wow, like we knew artist relief was necessary and folks were in crisis, but it's like, oh snaps, like there is a real need out here. And so like, we're not gonna be able to, unless a miracle happens, like we're not gonna be able to give out 45 grants, but at the same time to even give out 20 to 30 like in the
mhm.
first cycle this spring will be huge.
Hell yeah, it's definitely grown and surpassed. It's building a platform like that that's grown and surpassed your guys' platform. You guys as a band, and then it's grown and surpassed in a short time. Its initial, the initial reasoning. Concert series. Obviously, COVID was a big factor in making that shift, but I think this artist relief fund is something that was potentially an inevitable part of the destination. It might have came a little bit sooner, but I definitely think it's something that grew into. I remember when you guys first told me about the idea, I seen, I was like, bro, this is like a long term. I think this could be something much bigger, and it's awesome to see it unfolding.
Yeah, it's really special to be a part of.
It's like so much bigger than All Star Opera or Respect My Region at this point. It's like
Hmm.
it's its own thing, and like grateful to be like helping like fuel it and push it forward. But it feels like this community thing that feeds like just like inter dynamic, or I'm not sure if that's the right phrasing, but like it feeds off so many different elements of the community to a point where it's like it's sustainable way beyond just the power that we put into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a great point. And I like how the origin was started from you guys. And I remember that too. The origin was, your guys' music back to that genre. Like, while it is like a hip hop band, if you're trying to put it in a box, it's tough to put you guys in a box specifically. And, I think a really good thing, a really bonus for you guys from like a marketing standpoint or a business standpoint is you guys can rock so many different lineups and be on, you could be in jazz and have like the hip hop vibe, or you could be on the straight hip hop vibe and stand out with the live instrument, or you could fit in with a rock lineup. You guys can fit in with so many different lineups and still have like, you could even be like easygoing, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys play this, but even like a family friendly event, right? Like, you guys just have that type of music that can kind of fit so many different demographics. It doesn't have to sit in a singular box for a singular type of occasion. Has that proved beneficial in gaining fans, or is it sometimes like difficult because it's like tough to think like there's so many demographics to go after? Or do you guys have identified of like who the ideal people that you want to serve your music is on a more taken away from the creative to a little bit more the business mindset?
I think sometimes it actually can get in the way. When you have so many different influences, sometimes it's a little unclear what your product is. When it's like all 10 different colors or whatever, it kind of gets a blurry to like the consumer. So I think a big thing of what we've been focusing on this last couple of years is really narrowing down a sonic palette, a sound, and really trying to solidify like our product, our sound, our how we present ourselves and how we present our music. And
yeah, I think Tylee, that's a great segue into like the album we're working on right now, and is like, well, yeah, it's an album, but it's also it's a journey in us like really defining that sonic palette and being very intentional and definitive about like what our sonic sound is. And shout out to like Kirk, who's played in a lot of bands, who joined our band in 2019 on bass. Like, he really got us thinking over the last year or two of like, yeah, you can do all these different sounds, but also at the same time, like, and he probably said it in nicer words, but like to be remembered like for something, like you really have to drive home something like distinct. And so it's no secret, like, we are a hip-hop band at the core of it, and we have two MCs who love hip-hop more than anything. I love hip-hop more than anything. Tylee's like always listening to like hip-hop inspired records, even if it's not hip-hop directly, like neo soul, R&B, jazz, like those all come from the tree of hip-hop, and vice versa. And so like right now we are really, our next album is going to be a very hip-hop focused album, while still having those live instrument elements across the whole project. And like we have some like more like indie soul type stuff that like on the back burner that like we could put out right now. It would actually be easier and quicker for us to put that out like this spring and like just get music out there. But for us, we want to really drive home what we are about first and foremost before we ever get back to sprinkling in accoutrements of other flavors. He said, accoutrements. He said, I love accoutrements.
You hit it with some fine grammar.
But you know what I mean? You know what I mean, though? Like, you want to drive home what you do best.
Absolutely.
And what you love most often will be what you do best. And so I think that's definitely where we're all at.
Absolutely. I mean, I can identify with that, just putting so much content out in cannabis and music, sometimes where they oversect on so many different platforms. It's easy to get lost in the sauce. And I've heard more than a few times people like, what do you guys even like do? Like, they're just so much and it's so overwhelming And so I often think of that. I have a little different, you know, obviously I have a different business model where it is just like fucking as much content as possible. Like obviously there's a vision and mission and all that shit, but ultimately if you trim the fat, it's like just as much as fucking possible. So I think it comes more so with the territory I've chosen, but I also definitely understand that. And I think it's important for music because, you know, and you guys are obviously hip hop, but in your own lane, being that you have the band and there's not a ton of people in that lane. But in hip hop, there's tends to be like this sound that everybody just like rushes to. And so I know you guys have seen it from like working in studios and other artists. It's like whoever, and it's funny, it's never like the top. You look at like the top, like the J. Cole, the Kendrick, the Drake. Sure, people want to sound like them, but the majority of people are like fighting for like the B minus or C level. And I'm not talking shit, but like a little Dirk, NBA Youngboy, some of these guys out here, that's like, that's what the majority of rappers are trying to sound like. But they're not even, that's not even like the toppest, highest echelon. So you see so many, like so many people competing for this lower overcrowded point, and nobody really stands out. You get all these little songs that are popping or getting hella streams because they fit in that pocket, but they don't have enough to stand out and have much more than, oh, that was like Lil Durk, but Lil Durk didn't put enough music out this fucking October, so X artist is the dude we were really fucking with. And I think it takes an understanding of like, we can't be too left or too right to not stand out, but you have to have a sound, and it can't veer too crazy all the time. You know, you have to kind of develop it and then naturally take it places. I don't know.
No, I think you're totally right, and I think when people hear this album, you know, they might hear some influences that are like more like modern mainstream hip hop. Like, you know, like you'll hear some 808s on this record, even though we have a band. Like there's music being made top 40 and even not top 40, like Smino or like even like the Drakes of the world, Travis Scott's, where it's like, you know, like, well, like we're not all like just like in totality like just fans of everything they put out. Like all these artists, like at some point or another, have put out a song where we're like, whew, they got off, and like we're inspired by that, whether it was the music or there's something that happened vocally or like an effect. Like, you know, like I don't think you'll ever see us make a song just to cater to what is current, but like if we do make something that like feels current, it's probably because we really enjoyed it and like we wanted to make our own interpretation of like what we enjoyed about it. But you know, like at the end of the day, when we have these live band elements flying around, it's still going to sound like us, which is a really cool part about it all.
Hell yeah. And so you guys are working, you got new music, a new album in progress. What else is 2022 looking like for you guys?
I don't know.
Growth. I think we're
studio.
all really we're hitting the studio a lot. It's a lot of growth, and we're just having a lot of fun making music right now. And I think, you know, and we're also finally able to start like getting together. So it's like, you know, we are doing like these remote sessions. Like Tylee and I were sending stuff back earlier today, but also folks are coming over to my apartment tomorrow and like we're recording and whatnot. So it is a lot of fun right now, but it's definitely just growing as individuals and as a collective unit right now.
Hell yeah. Well, thank you guys very much for joining us this evening. Anyone out there looking to check All Star Opera out, search All Star Opera on all streaming platforms, at All Star Opera on Instagram. And then the Musician Relief Fund, Washington Musician Relief Fund is live, seattleworldtour.org. Make sure to check that out. Apply if you're an artist from the area. You know, that has experienced some crisis due to COVID-19, which I'd say pretty much anybody in the arts community has for the most part, unless you have a really cushy job at Amazon and that never went anywhere and you don't live off music, then don't eat that spot up. But for the rest
we'll
of
find
everybody
you.
out there,
We'll snuff it out.
We'll look you up on LinkedIn and talk to your supervisor.
I didn't even
Well
think
done.
about that. We're gonna have to look up some of these people on LinkedIn.
You got 4 raises during the pandemic? You're a senior VP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I really appreciate you guys. All-Star Tylee and Seth of All-Star Opera, and shout out the rest of the tribe that's not here with us, but with us in spirit tonight. Thank you guys very much.
Appreciate you, Mitch.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Mitch.
this is Mitch from RespectMargin.com.